begins there. With those few remarks, let me welcome our first presenter, the board chairman, Res Solomon Manju. Over to you, Mr. Manju.
Thank you, Madam Director of Ceremonies, esteemed members of the Board of Trustees of the BPOPF, acting Principal Officer, Mr. Moemedi Malinda, members of the Fourth Estate, good afternoon, and welcome to our press briefing. And it may interest you that this is the very first time that we've interacted with members of the media as the Board of Trustees of the BPOPF. This comes out of the many interactions management has had with our members. They have expressed the need to occasionally see their board appear and account. So this is the very first time that we are engaged with this process, and it shall continue to take place as and when we improve our interactions with the media. I will start off the presentations by giving you a high-level brief on the performance of the pension fund. Let me start by saying to all our valued members, pensioners and stakeholders, it is with great pleasure that I and my fellow trustees present to you the 2020 year-end financial performance of the fund and the general state of your fund and amid the COVID-19 global pandemic. It has been a very difficult period, I must say, with the world having to contend with a pandemic that has led to the closure of most business activities, partial cessation of cross-border trading and restrictions on travel. The pandemic has had a significant ripple effect on the performance of the global financial markets. Needless to say, the BPOPF investments, both local and offshore, have been adversely impacted. In particular, the effects of this pandemic were heavily felt in the month of March 2020. I would like you to note this, in the month of March 2020, with reports indicating that the world's largest pension fund, being the Japan Government Pension Fund, lost about $165 billion in 3 months during the period ending March 2020, which translates to an 11% loss of value. Independent research shows that the performance of the local balanced mandate asset managers has been significantly affected, with the highest performance of 3.3%, lowest of -4.5%, and median of 0%. Whilst this is by no means great performance for institutional investors like the BPOPF, it is good performance relative to similar international pension funds. Notwithstanding the prevailing circumstances, we are pleased to present to you a healthy balance sheet of the pension fund. This is evident from the following. There has been a slight growth in the fund's assets under management of 1% in our asset base from 66.52 billion to 67.17 billion. And we do have a total funding level of 100.3%. We are pleased that ours remain one of the few pension funds globally that has posted a full funding level since inception. The principal officer will maybe indicate to you what funding level means when I give him the opportunity to speak. It is against this background that the board has made the following declarations. A 4% final rate for the pre-retirement switch portfolio. The pre-retirement switch portfolio, ladies and gentlemen, is for members nearing retirement. It is a portfolio the trustees created to preserve capital for our members. The rationale behind it is that market shocks like the one we are experiencing must always be anticipated, and our members nearing retirement must thus be protected from such. This kind of performance is testament to this commitment from us as trustees and controllers of the BPOPF. We encourage members nearing retirement, therefore, to seriously consider this portfolio going forward. We, however, must hasten to discourage members with a longer term to retirement from active decision making, from reactive decision making rather, as the fund has in place portfolios and strategies suitable for them. As the Board of Trustees, we are confident that the markets will eventually rebound, as they have always done. What we, however, do not possess is a crystal ball to predict when that would happen. Secondly, we are declaring a -1% rate for the active member portfolio. Ideally, ladies and gentlemen, a positive rate is what our members would have expected. But we derive comfort from the fact that while the performance rate is a -1%, we did not have the deepest drawdown on member credit that occurred in this market. We certainly would have preferred a higher return for our members. However, as a fund, it is critical that we retain some funds in reserves. The impact of this will be felt by members who retired on the 31st of March 2020. My colleague, the chairperson of the Finance and Investment Committee, will elaborate on what this means. Members retiring post 31 March 2020 will have a positive growth on the portfolio. And the chairman of the Finance and Investment Committee, as I said, will brief you on that shortly. We are also declaring a 0% final rate for the with-profit pensioner portfolio. The commitment we've made in relation to the pensioner portfolio is a return that is not below zero. Our aim is to always pay 80% of inflation. However, the substantial erosion on performance during the last month of the financial year, being March 2020, warrants that we maintain the 2019 rates for 2020. This will place the portfolio at a fully funded level, a feat many pension funds globally have not been able to attain. The non-profit pensioner portfolio increments of 0 to 7.5% will be effected. The intention is for the portfolio to remain in a healthy position of being fully funded. Ladies and gentlemen, Director of Ceremonies, the board is committed to the implementation of the fund's investment strategy, and we will continue to invest responsibly. We anticipate turbulence in the markets from time to time, which is inherent in this business. It comes with the territory. As the Board of Trustees, we assure the members of the fund that we will secure and grow their investments to earn them a dignified post-career life, which is our core business of growing the wealth of our members. And our commitment as espoused in the fund's corporate strategy. Thank you very much for listening, ladies and gentlemen. That was way of high-level introduction of what we are going to discuss this afternoon. I will now hand over to my colleague, the chairman of the Finance and Investment Committee, Mr. Tobokani Rari, to take you further. Thank you, Mr. Rari.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I would like to make you commit and say, as the board chairman has indicated and has gone to great length in his highlights, he indicated some challenges that are posed by COVID-19 to the fund's investments. And as the Finance and Investment Committee, which is entrusted with all investment-related matters of the fund, we are alive to all risks that the members' investments are exposed to, both locally and offshore. And we work with all concerned parties, being the executive management, the asset consultants, and the asset managers, to ensure that the risks are prudently managed. Successful investing is determined, colleagues, by how one navigates and overcomes the challenges that emerge from time to time. Already, as already stated, the challenges posed by COVID-19 were the real disruptor of global markets' performance during this period. It has to be noted that the aftermath of this pandemic will certainly be felt for the next foreseeable future that we can't deny. Of utmost importance are the strategies that the businesses put in place to work around the challenges that they face. The statistics that I will read out below depict the overall performance of the markets as at 31st March 2020. The MSCI world markets were down during this period by 0.06%. The MSCI emerging markets were also down by 9%. And the Botswana equity market, the DCI, was also down by 5%. It is against this performance that the fund declared the returns in respect of each member portfolio, as reported earlier by the chairman of the board. I therefore would like to assure all the members of the fund that the portfolios remain fully invested. It is worth noting, colleagues, that the fund experienced a very strong recovery during the first 4 months of the financial year, that is April to July of 2020. The declared interim interest rates were as follows. April 2020, the declared interim rate was 4.56%. May 2020, 5.61%. June 2020, 6.71%. And July 2020, 8.52%. In more simplistic terms, this means that with the -1% declaration rate, an active member with a fund credit, for example, of 100,000 as of March 2019, will suffer a slight decline to a fund credit of about 99,000 as at March 2020. If the member retired after April 2020, the 4.56% interest will be applied to their March 2020 fund credit. Thereby, the member will receive 103,554 pool. If the member retired after May 2020, the 5.61% interest will be applied to their March 2020 fund credit to receive 104,553 pool. In concluding, colleagues, it suffices to assure the members of the fund that in the midst of these current challenges, the fund continues to actively invest locally and offshore in line with its investment strategy. As the fund is working on procuring the services of an additional manager for its local equity mandates, the fund has recently identified managers focusing on the Africa mandate, to which a tune of 2 billion has been committed to the Africa Equities mandate. We are currently working on completing the deployment of cash to China managers. The fund is also actively pursuing infrastructure investments locally with the aim of ensuring that the fund actively participates in the infrastructural development of Botswana, while at the same time maximizing returns for its members. All these efforts are aimed at optimizing our portfolio mix and attaining all full diversification. The board is ready, colleagues, to make any necessary changes to the portfolios as and when so required to ensure that we create a value for the members. I thank you, and I think I will hand over now to the chairman of the Benefits Committee to share with you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rai. Good afternoon, fellow trustees and members of the media. As indicated, I'm the chairman of the Benefits Committee, and I will also take you through certain aspects of the fund within the benefits aspect. As indicated by the board chair, the declaration of the final interest rates now paves way for the fund to issue the individual benefit statements. And I must admit that in the past, as the board, the fund has previously experienced challenges with the issuance of the benefits statements, which of course was a disappointment to our members. We now pledge and we are committed as the board that the benefit statements will be issued within 2 months following this press release. Members should expect the benefit statements during the month of September and October 2020. However, we are all aware that we are in the middle of the pandemic, COVID-19. And as the trustees and management, we are looking at innovative ways of issuing benefit statements given the challenges posed by COVID-19. Furthermore, as trustees, we are aware that our members for some time have decried low level of engagement on matters affecting their pensions, issues surrounding service delivery, and member education. We are, of course, pledging one more time that as the board and management of the fund, we are committed through our revised corporate strategy that we are going to improve and implement initiatives that will ensure that our members are educated and informed on matters affecting their fund. Previously, we have communicated through various media platforms that the fund is moving towards a new direction regarding the fund administration project. And I think it needs to be emphasized that previously, during inception, we had to outsource our services, and it was in the public domain that service was done by Alexander Forbes. And at a later stage, we insourced our services. We are now moving towards outsourcing our services in line with the Retirement Funds Act and its regulations. We therefore implore our members and all stakeholders to work with us in this journey. Clean-up and up-to-date member data is critical, and not only to the success of the project, but also to the improvement and the turnaround times in the provision of our services. And currently, our fund project is called Gata Le Rona. and I think it's quite a very, very nice brand. Our members are therefore requested to participate fully in the KYC drive that the fund has rolled out. And the management of the fund will continue to engage members and provide updates on these matters. Which in conclusion, Chair, I just want to say I further pledge and promise that the delays surrounding the issuance of the benefit statements are now going to be issues of the past. But of course, COVID is also another challenge that I don't hope that there will be delays in future. But of course, that's one of the challenges that we are going through at the moment. Thank you very much, trustees. I will then hand over to the chairman of Risk Committee, Ms. Ruta Moses. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon to my colleagues and our chairman. Good afternoon, the media house that are here present. We thank you for attending this important occasion. You've heard my colleagues touch on matters of risk, and I will give you a brief on the risks that we are managing within the BPOPF. As a chairman of risk, and I'm also an independent specialist trustee of the fund. The COVID-19 pandemic has not only threatened the performance of our investments, as you've heard from my colleagues, but the restrictions in place have somewhat impacted on the operations of the fund. For the BPOPF, being a global investor and a social security service provider, this risk escalated to being our top strategic risk. As much as we are a long-term investor, we are cognizant of the reality that some of our members who are nearing retirement, their long-term could be the next financial year. At a risk mitigating tool, I will reiterate what the board chairman stated earlier, that members nearing retirement must heed our call to consider pre-retirement switch portfolio. The fund, I can give you an assurance that has a robust risk management framework and a business continuity plan to ensure that all risks are mitigated and managed accordingly. At that service provision is not disrupted. We assure you and our members and stakeholders that as the Board of Trustees, we have confidence in the fund's risk management framework. This notwithstanding, we cannot be complacent. It's not an option. We have to ensure that our strategies are sufficiently agile to contend with any eventualities, and that the fund remains a going concern for many years to come. One of the challenges the fund is faced with now and going forward is disseminating critical information to our members and stakeholders as the impact of the multiple risks unfold. It is not in our members' interest for them to make hasty and uninformed decisions based on perceived and unexplained risks. Thus, the board has decided to engage the media fraternity as partners to timeously disseminate information regarding matters affecting the fund to the members and the stakeholders. The management of the fund will continue to roll out these engagements. Members and the stakeholders can be rest assured that the Board of Trustees is committed and is able to effectively manage the risks that the fund is exposed to. I thank you for this afternoon, and I will pass on to the acting CEO to conclude on our conversations. Thank you. Okay.
Sorry, we will have questions first, then we have the closing remarks by the acting CEO.
No, thank you. Thank you very much, colleagues, for the comprehensive brief that we've given to the media. There is one thing that we kept on mentioning about a pre-retirement switch. In simple terms, what this means actually is that we recognize that our members are at different levels of service, and that there are members who are invested but will be retiring in the next 2-3 years. So what we've done as a board to ensure, because most of our investments are placed in the global markets, and they come with great risks, because we want high risk goes with high returns. So what we normally do with this pre-retirement switch is to afford members who are just about to retire to invest in portfolios that are less risky, so that when we have situations like the current one, then at least they are assured that they will retire with their full benefits, and allow those who are starting their careers to rise and fall with the global markets, because they have the opportunity to build their investment again, as opposed to those like myself who will be retiring very soon. So that is what is meant by the pre-retirement switch. And I want to now hand over to to Madam Director of Ceremonies to allow you to ask questions and make clarifications. Thank you. You can take 3 questions. We answer three at a time. But it should not be up to 1,800 hours. We should aim.
Media houses, thank you, Board of Trustees, for your deliberations. My partners in crime, media houses, the floor is yours now. We can have questions. What is going to happen is your name and the media house you are coming from, and we are going to take 3 questions. They are being answered. From there, we take the other ones. Over to you, media house.
No questions is still good. If we are done, then we can.
Thank you, Dedu. My name's Boris Tip. I'm based at the Telegraph and Sunday Standard Publications. And thank you from you, Solomon, and your board colleagues. Firstly, I would like to draw your attention to numerous activities where there are numerous reports about the fund, reports from the fund being involved in misappropriation of funds. Some of the matters have been before the court of law, and
E nngwe.
You are still digesting.
Yeah, no, it's fine. We can attempt an answer. Misappropriation of funds, and what are we going to ensure to reassure our members? I want to make it a public statement of assurance that funds held in trust by the BPOPF and controlled by this board are safe. And as we indicated to you in our media brief, we have been able to post positive investment returns even under such trying times as the current. But of course, if any information comes our way suggesting that there is some form of misappropriation of or embezzlement, we shall leave no stone unturned in ensuring that we put such reports to full investigation by referring them to institutions that have the capability and the expertise to do the investigations. Because as a board, I think that is not part of our mandate, but we shall refer. But as of now, we are not aware of any funds that are being misappropriated. That is why we are able to give our our members positive returns. Like we said earlier, that was a -1% declaration, was an event on the 31st of March. That quickly was reversed into positives. And I think we will do everything in our power to ensure that we do that. And in terms of, my colleagues will fill me up where I have not been able to sufficiently address the issue. In terms of delays in the audits, yes, we've had delays in audits in the past, and we have worked very hard with the regulator to ensure that we reverse that process. And the reason why we are holding this media brief this early after July, because our deadline for the submission of financials every financial year is the 31st of July, after the 31st of March, which is the end of our financial year. We have 4 months within which time we should have submitted our financials. And I'm happy to say that this time around, the board has been able to do that. We have been able to submit financials on time, and we've, in fact, have gotten an unqualified audit opinion to mean that our finances are in order and the pension fund is a going concern. And that has been happening all these years that the pension fund has been around. Yes, of course, there will always be instances where people make insinuations that there are transgressions here and there, but we do make it a point that we address them. The CNB, what you call the CNB scandal, we are aware, maybe just by way of history. You see, the BPOPF carries with it a lot of money in billions in terms of investments. And starting an asset management company, which are the vehicles that we use to invest these funds. Starting an asset management company is a very expensive exercise. And deliberately as the board, we took a decision that we were going to empower local companies that do not have the financial muscle to start asset management companies. We were going to deliberately be biased towards assisting them to start off with start-off capitals to ensure that they also participate in this process. And CNB is one of those companies that came out of this project, what we call, it's an incubation policy, where we ask companies to form, ask for to do work with the BPOPF, and once they pass the criteria, we assure them once they go out to look for business, we will finance them. And these companies are managed by separate boards, because we wouldn't want these companies, the money that they manage, to be part of the billions that we hold. So we give them to small boards where the BPOPF is represented. And CMB came out from this dispensation. And the fact that the managers, because in this setup we have what we call a general partner and a limited partner. The pension fund is what we call a limited partner, a partner that does not play in the day-to-day affairs running of the company. And the general partner is the operations company that deals with investments on day-to-day basis. And the decisions that they make finally come to the board, but we do not participate. And the directors of these companies are liable for the actions that they take. So CMB, yes, to the extent that the decision to employ CMB, it could be argued, came from the board. We are not directly responsible to what they do. And the actions that they do, which are wrong, they will account to institutions that have the mandate to investigate. So we have learned lessons. As the board, you know, we believe, yes, as we do business, we'll make mistakes, but the greatest problem, the greatest challenge rather, is when you don't learn anything from those mistakes. We have learned a lot from the CMB case, and going forward, we will do things much better. And I want to assure you that even as we speak, we have appointed incubation partners from local managers to manage money, because we cannot say just because CMB, we have challenges with CMB, therefore we will discard this project, which is fundamental and key to empowerment of our brothers and sisters, the locals, Balehatseli. Colleagues, if
thank you, Mr. Sisiro. You asked about what we are doing to restore the confidence due to the media communication that do not depict the pension fund in a positive light. Under my portfolio in the Risk Management Committee, we monitor everything that goes out and that is published in the media. And we analyze what we need to do about it. It's not like we ignore them. But we made a decision sometimes not to respond to every news that comes into the papers, and also publish what we feel that the stakeholders need to know. But we do also recognize that as things unfold, we need to make sure that our processes are robust. So within the risk framework, we have engaged with the communication specialist, and for this year, we have come up with a much more robust structure around our communication and the engagement, in particular, of the media fraternity. So I can assure you that you'll be hearing more from Bedu in terms of the plans in place to communicate more, as I earlier on in my presentation touched on it. In terms of other issues that you highlighted of lessons learned, those also falls under our risk committee. We analyze all the risk that happens, be it of an investment issue, be it of operational issues, and like any other process, look at the root causes. Some of the issues may not necessarily be in the public, but we ensure that we don't take them lightly, and we keep on revisiting our own processes to check where we had missed the gaps, to tighten up the gaps. Therefore, our risk framework is not statics. It's a process that we keep reviewing as things change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, clarifications? If there aren't any, I will hand over to the acting CEO, Mr. Malinda, to conclude our media brief.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues, stakeholders from the media fraternity. I think if you look at what the trustees have put before you in terms of the performance, we should all agree that maybe we have to declare Tuesday the 31st, March 2020 as Black Tuesday. Because it was in just that day that the market tanked and then picked up. So it's going to be recorded in history what happened the 31st of March 2020. The good thing for us is that the recovery had been so strong for the members. Yes, we have declared, as the chairman said, a negative 1% for the active portfolio, but we're currently sitting around 8% in the declared interim interest. So therefore, we really want to encourage and send a strong message to our members, not to be worried about what happened in one particular day, which we could have a name for it going forward. I would like to thank my board for coming to this press release, because when you see their face and you're hearing from them, you really get the assurance of the health of the fund. We are fully funded, as the chairman has said. That means the actuarial assets are greater than the actuarial liability. That's how you manage a pension fund. It's not all pension funds that can boast about being fully funded, and this is something that we boast to have done since inception, and the board is committed to continuously and maintaining that and making it even better. So the health of the fund is really strong. We have a strong balance sheet. Risks are there, as the chairman of risk have alluded to them. There are challenges there, but they are well managed. Lessons are learned. One of the questions is, what have we learned from some of the cases? There's a lot that we learned. There's a lot that we have put in place. We used to do service provider due diligence once when we appoint, but now it's continuous. We rank our managers, and the riskier managers more due diligence compared to the others. So there's a lot of things that we are doing to maintain the health of the fund. The success of the fund going forward, it has been stated that we have reviewed our corporate strategy, and we have targets, very, very clear targets, very, very strong targets, not easy targets, but we want to go and achieve those targets. So, and that success is going to come from the people. It's going to come from the direction of the board. It's going to come from the staff and management. It's going to come from service providers and the media fraternity. We learn a lot from the things that you cover to guide us on what to do. So, in investment or in finance, you can never say you know everything. You learn every day, every piece of information. We read everything to ensure that we adapt to the ever-changing landscape. COVID is upon us. How it will fare, we don't know. But what we know is that the portfolio is structured such that we get the return that the members expect. So we need all players on board to ensure that going forward. So on behalf of the board, I would like to thank our valued members who have entrusted us with their funds and assure them that the funds are secure and prudently managed for positive long-term returns. The BPOPF staff for their unwavering support and dedication to the implementation of this exciting strategy that we have. It's a 2017 to 2022. We are 2 years to go, and it's exciting time with big projects like what the chairman of the benefits committee have shared with you. All our service providers, asset managers, investment consultants, bankers, custodians, attorneys, actuaries, auditors, and various consultants. We thank them for their support, and all stakeholders, including government being the employer. It's going to be exciting year. We're looking to implement all what we have in terms of our investment strategy, looking at infrastructure, looking to allocate to Africa. We have finalized, as we have reported in the media, we have finalized allocation to China. So we are pleased that our year-end financial ending March have been submitted on time, as the chairman have said. All the actual valuation have been submitted. So we are really compliant with what we needed to comply with this end of year. Finally, on behalf of the board, I would like to assure our members once more that the numbers as reflected in the financial report have been checked and verified by the auditors. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That is the end. This guy never wanted to completely is an admission on our part. We are just trying to exercise maturity and avoid rapid response kind of attitude. When the time is right, the acting CEO is available, and the chairman, I'm available anytime if you need clarifications. We have often realized when you write about the BPOPF, you write without asking for our side of the story. So we are also asking you guys for, if you think a little bit, how good years are you? Because we always be ready to never we promise for engagements of this nature going forward really so that we avoid thank you very much. The meeting is closed.
Thank you. We do have media kit for you. You will keep it as you go out.
Eh.